The sky above the royal city of Veralia shimmered with soft blue light. Tall towers rose like crystal pillars, reflecting the twin suns that bathed the planet in warmth. Among these towers, the palace stood tallest, gleaming with elegance and authority. Inside, the Council of Elders whispered with worry. Their concern was not for war or politics, but for something far more personal and troubling. They feared the royal line would end with Princess Leora. Leora walked through the palace gardens with grace, her long silver hair flowing behind her. Flowers of strange colors leaned toward her as if drawn by some quiet energy she carried. People watched her from afar, admiring her beauty and intelligence. Yet behind her serene face, Leora felt a heaviness she had carried all her life. For years, the council had tried everything. Advanced science, ancient rituals, even alliances with distant planets, all to ensure she could have an heir. But no method worked. They whispered in fear that Leora might never conceive. For a princess whose duty was to secure the future of her people, this news was unbearable. "Princess," said one elder, stepping out of the shadows, his voice low and serious, "the council has made a decision. We believe there is only one solution left." Leora stopped walking. Her violet eyes met his, calm but questioning. "And that is?" The elder swallowed, choosing his words carefully. "There is a human. From a distant colony. It is said humans carry genetic traits unlike any other species. Their resilience is unmatched. The council believes that pairing you with him might succeed where others have failed." Leora's brow furrowed. "A human? You mean to send me to a stranger from another world?" "Yes," the elder said gently. "It is not a punishment. It is a chance for you and for Veralia. This human is known for courage, intelligence, and honor. He is trustworthy." Leora turned to the gardens, the soft light reflecting in her eyes. She had spent her life feeling trapped by expectations. Every word she spoke, every step she took was watched. And now, the council's decision placed her fate in the hands of a stranger from another world. Fear and uncertainty pressed against her chest. "Prepare the vessel," she said quietly. "I will meet this human." The elder nodded, relief flickering in his face. Leora's tone was calm, but inside she felt a storm. She had always done what was expected, but now, the future was unknown. Far away on the human colony of Arden Prime, Kian worked in his small engineering workshop. Machines hummed and whirred around him, and he moved with skill and precision, repairing systems that most people would consider broken beyond hope. His reputation as a clever and fearless engineer had spread across the colony, but Kian had never sought fame. He was content helping others, solving problems, and quietly making a difference. A message arrived, transmitted from the far reaches of space. Kian read it in disbelief. It was an invitation from a royal council on a distant planet offering him a chance to meet an alien princess. The text spoke of honor, courage, and a mission unlike any other. It also hinted that the princess could not bear children, and that humans might hold the key. Kian stared at the message, then laughed softly to himself. "Well, I didn't see that coming," he said, wiping grease from his hands. He felt a mix of excitement and skepticism. Traveling across the galaxy to help a princess seemed like the start of a story from old legends, but he also knew he could not ignore a plea for help, especially if a life or even a civilization was at stake. Back on Veralia, Leora prepared for departure. Servants adjusted her ceremonial robes while medics ran final tests to ensure she was healthy for the journey. She walked to the palace balcony, looking down at the city below. Citizens paused in their routines, wondering why the princess would leave her world. Whispers spread, she may never return. She may meet a human. She may change everything. The royal vessel awaited in the palace landing bay, sleek and powerful. It reflected the twin suns with a brilliance that made it almost invisible against the sky. Leora stepped aboard, her heart beating with uncertainty. She wondered what humans were like, how different they were from Verelians, and whether this journey would bring hope or further disappointment. When the engines hummed to life, Kian's ship appeared on the holographic comlink. He was younger than she had imagined, with dark hair, steady eyes, and a calm confidence. There was no arrogance, no pride, just a human standing before her ready to take on the unknown. "Princess Leora," Kian said through the comm. "I am Kian. I'll do everything I can to keep you safe and help with whatever needs to be done." Leora studied him for a moment. There was honesty in his voice and a courage she could feel even through the distance. She nodded. Then let us begin. There is no time to waste. The journey through space was unlike anything Leora had ever experienced. Stars stretched into long streams of light as the ship accelerated. Planets, moons, and asteroid fields passed in a blur. At first, Leora remained quiet, observing the humans work with the ship's systems. Kian moved quickly, checking instruments, adjusting coordinates, and repairing minor damages from meteor debris. Leora watched him with growing admiration. He had a calmness that reminded her of flowing water, steady, reliable, and gentle even in danger. When a sudden meteor storm forced the ship into evasive maneuvers, Kian's skill and quick thinking saved them from serious damage. "You humans are remarkable," Leora said, a small smile forming. "Even when faced with danger, you remain composed," Kian chuckled softly. "We have to be. Otherwise, we wouldn't last long in space. But thank you, that was a bit more excitement than I expected today." For the first time in her life, Leora felt something new. Trust. Not in the council, not in the scientists or the palace, but in another being. Someone who could face the unknown and stand strong. Days passed. Kian and Leora began to share conversations beyond the formalities of duty. Leora spoke of Virelia, her childhood, and the pressures of being a princess who could not fulfill her people's hopes. Kian listened, not with judgment, but with understanding. He told stories of Arden Prime, of human resilience, of ordinary people who became heroes when circumstances demanded. "I never imagined," Leora said quietly one night, "that a human could feel so familiar. It is strange yet comforting." Kian looked at her, curious. "Familiar?" "Yes," she said. "You understand courage, duty, and fear in a way that touches something inside me. I have always been surrounded by people who watch, control, or order. But you simply act and trust the moment." Kian smiled. "I do what I can. Life is full of unexpected challenges. Sometimes you just have to move forward, even when you don't know the outcome." Leora nodded, feeling a sense of hope she had never experienced. Perhaps this journey would not only change the fate of her people, but also the course of her own life. Then, a warning flashed on the ship's sensors. A small fleet of unknown vessels approached, moving with intent. Kian quickly scanned the readings. "They're intercepting us. Unknown crafts. Could be pirates, could be something else." Leora's pulse quickened, but she stayed calm. "What do we do?" Kian's eyes narrowed. "We do what we always do. Think, act, survive. Stay close, trust me." The alien vessels opened communication. A voice, harsh and commanding, spoke in a language Leora could barely comprehend. Kian quickly decoded the basic meaning. "They demand we surrender the princess. They want to take her to another system." Leora's eyes widened. "For what?" Kian shook his head. "I don't know. But we can't let that happen. Not if we want hope for the future." The ship shuddered as the alien fleet fired warning beams. Kian maneuvered expertly, dodging the blasts, using the ship's shields and thrusters to weave through the formation. Leora held on, amazed at his skill. "You humans are incredible," she said, almost in awe. Kian laughed softly, focusing on the next move. "And I have a great teacher, danger." Hours passed, but Kian's quick thinking and the ship's advanced systems allowed them to escape. When the danger faded into the distance, Leora exhaled, relief washing over her. "You saved us," she said simply. "We saved each other," Kian replied. "That's what matters in the end." As they continued their journey, a new bond formed. Leora realized that the Council's plan, though frightening, was also an opportunity. Not only for an heir, but for a partnership that could surpass expectations. She looked at Kian with a mixture of respect, curiosity, and something she could not yet name. The stars stretched endlessly before them, full of mysteries and dangers. But for the first time, Leora did not feel fear. She felt hope. Hope that the impossible might just be possible, and that a human and an alien could change the fate of a world together. And so, the journey had begun, two unlikely allies bound by destiny, racing across the galaxy toward a future that no one could predict. The stars stretched like silver threads across the dark expanse of space. The royal vessel moved steadily, cutting through the void with a silent hum. Inside, the atmosphere was quiet but tense. Princess Leora sat by the observation window, watching distant constellations drift past. Her mind replayed the events of her home world, the Council's fear, the whispers of doubt, and the strange hope that now rested on this journey. Kian worked at the control panels nearby, adjusting the ship's trajectory and monitoring systems. He had grown used to the hum of the engines, the lights on the dashboard, and the quiet rhythm of space travel. He glanced at Leora, noticing her thoughtful expression. "You think a lot," he said gently. Leora turned to him, her eyes reflecting the stars. "I have been taught all my life to think, to calculate, to anticipate. But now I do not know what to think. The future is no longer written. It depends on choices, not duty alone." Kian nodded. "Sometimes the unknown is the most important part. It challenges us, makes us grow. That's how humans survive, and maybe how Virelians can too." Leora studied him carefully. She had expected arrogance from a human, or perhaps recklessness. But Kian was calm, thoughtful, and practical. He did not demand respect with words. He earned it through actions. Their journey had only begun, but already they faced the unknown. Sensors picked up a dense asteroid field ahead. Kian's fingers danced over the controls, adjusting shields and thrusters. "This isn't dangerous if we keep our heads." "Stay close to me," he said. The vessel entered the field slowly. Asteroids of all shapes and sizes drifted, some spinning, some silent. The lights from the stars reflected off their surfaces, creating a dazzling but dangerous display. Kian guided the ship with precision, moving through the tight gaps while calculating every angle. Leora held her seat, heart racing with excitement and fear. She watched the human in action, feeling a strange warmth of trust. "You move as if the asteroids listen to you," she said quietly. Kian chuckled. "I wish they would, but it's mostly math, timing, and quick thinking. You'll see once you start trusting the process, it's not so frightening." By the time they cleared the asteroid field, both were breathing more easily. Leora realized she had begun to admire Kian, not just for his skill, but for his courage and calm in danger. As they continued, Kian taught Leora the basics of the ship's systems. She had been raised among advanced Virelian technology, but human machines were different, simpler yet flexible in ways her world's technology could not match. She learned to adjust the engines, navigate minor course changes, and even repair basic system faults. "I never imagined humans could build machines like this," Leora said one evening, watching Kian work on a small engine panel. "Your technology is simple, yet it adapts to so many conditions." Kian smiled. "We make what works. Sometimes simplicity is the key to survival. Efficiency over elegance, though we have a little of both." As days passed, they grew closer. Conversations moved from duty and technology to stories of life on their respective worlds. Leora described the beauty of Virelia, the gardens that glowed at night, the crystal rivers, the songs of the skybirds. Kian spoke of Arden Prime, where humans learn to adapt, survive, and build communities from scratch. "You humans are resilient," Leora said one night. "You face challenges that would overwhelm most species. You do not give up," Kian shrugged. "We have to survive. That's what makes us strong. And sometimes when the odds are against us, we find ways to succeed that others never imagine." The conversation left Leora thinking. Perhaps this human was exactly what her people needed. Perhaps hope was not found in science or rituals, but in courage and ingenuity, the qualities humans carried naturally. Their journey, however, was not without danger. One morning, sensors detected an unknown vessel approaching rapidly. Its design was unfamiliar, angular, and black against the star field. Kian quickly analyzed it. "They're not responding to communications. Could be pirates, could be scouts from a hostile system. Either way, they do not look friendly." Leora's pulse quickened, but she remained composed. "What do we do?" Kian leaned over the controls, adjusting shields and navigation systems. "We prepare for evasion first. If that fails, we fight. Stay close and follow my lead." The unknown vessel fired warning pulses. The ship shook, lights flickering as the energy hit the shields. Kian maneuvered deftly, using the ship's agility to weave through the void. Leora watched, fascinated by his quick thinking and calm determination. "You are fearless," she said, almost in awe. Kian smiled, focusing on the next move. "Not fearless. Careful, calculated, and determined. There's a difference." After tense moments, the unknown vessel gave up pursuit, retreating into the darkness. Leora exhaled, relief washing over her. "Thank you," she said. Kian shrugged. "We look out for each other. That's how we survive. That's how humans do things, and now, we're doing it together." As the days passed, Leora and Kian faced more challenges: minor system malfunctions, strange cosmic storms, and the occasional stray asteroid. Each time Kian's ingenuity and Leora's quick thinking helped them overcome the danger. Slowly, the princess began to see a different way of life, not one dictated solely by duty and expectation, but one shaped by action, trust, and partnership. One evening, as the ship drifted through a nebula of glowing gases, Leora spoke quietly. Kaisan, I have spent my life surrounded by people who watch, judge, and command. Never have I felt that someone trusted me simply to act, to choose, and to live. Kian looked at her thoughtfully. Trust is earned, not given. And you've earned it, Leora. You've faced fear, uncertainty, and pressure that most could not handle. That takes courage. That deserves trust. Leora felt warmth spread through her chest. For the first time, she believed that hope was not a distant dream. It was possible here and now with this human beside her. However, not all was calm. While navigating near a small, uncharted system, the ship's sensors detected unusual energy readings. It's a radiation storm, Kian explained, but stronger than any natural phenomenon I've ever seen. The storm was a kaleidoscope of colors, brilliant and dangerous. Kian adjusted the shields, but the energy pulses were unpredictable, hitting the vessel with force. Leora held onto the console, amazed by the danger. You humans survive even in storms like this? She asked. Kian grinned. We survive because we adapt. We find solutions even when the universe throws everything at us. And now you're learning to adapt too. Together, they worked to stabilize the vessel. Kian's skill and Leora's attention to detail allowed them to navigate through the storm without serious damage. When the danger passed, Leora felt exhilaration, a mix of fear, relief, and pride. I did not know I could feel alive like this, she admitted quietly. Life is full of moments like that, Kian said, smiling. You just have to take them as they come. The bond between them grew stronger with every challenge. Leora began to see Kian not just as a human sent to help, but as a companion, a protector, and someone she could rely on. Kian, in turn, respected Leora's wisdom, courage, and resilience. Together, they were more than a princess and a human. They were a team capable of facing dangers no single being could survive alone. As they approached the edge of the uncharted system, a planet appeared on the sensors. Lush, green, and uninhabited by known species, it was the place the Council had instructed them to reach. This planet held the potential for Leora's genetic compatibility test, the first step toward giving hope for an heir. Leora gazed at the world, feeling a mixture of hope and fear. This is it, she said softly. The place where everything could change. For my people, and for me, Kian nodded. We'll face it together. Whatever comes, we'll find a way. And so the royal vessel descended toward the unknown planet. Two beings from distant worlds, bound by circumstance and trust, prepared to face challenges beyond imagination. Leora felt a spark of hope she had never known before. For the first time, the impossible did not seem so impossible. The stars outside the viewport shimmered with promise. And for the first time in her life, Princess Leora felt ready to embrace the future, whatever it might hold. The planet below stretched out like a jewel in space. Dense green forests, sparkling rivers, and glowing crystal mountains covered the surface. It was uninhabited, or so the scans had shown, and it was chosen specifically for Leora's genetic compatibility tests. The Council of Viralia had said this world was safe, controlled, and perfectly suited for the procedure. Princess Leora stood on the deck of the royal vessel, gazing at the world. Her heart pounded. After months of travel and near dangers in space, this moment felt different. This was no adventure, no test of skill. It was a test of life itself. She turned to Kian, who was adjusting the ship's landing protocols. Are you ready for this? She asked, her voice soft. Kian looked up from the controls. Ready? I'm always ready, but this isn't about me. It's about you, and I'll do whatever it takes to make sure you're safe and comfortable. We face this together. Leora gave a small nod. The warmth in his words, the steady reassurance eased the tension building in her chest. She had never known such trust in another being. The vessel touched down gently on a clearing in the forest. Scientists and healers from Viralia, assisted by human specialists, had prepared advanced laboratories and medical facilities. When the ramp lowered, Leora stepped down, the soft ground under her feet a strange but comforting sensation. Kian followed closely, scanning the environment to ensure there were no surprises. Inside the laboratory, the machines hummed with energy, lights pulsing like tiny stars. Leora felt a mixture of awe and apprehension. Scientists approached, speaking in precise tones, explaining procedures and safety protocols. Kian listened carefully, learning enough to assist but leaving the technical work to the experts. "You will be safe," said one of the Virelian doctors, a tall figure with silver skin and golden eyes. "The process is advanced and controlled, but there are risks. That is why we need your courage and trust." Leora nodded, her mind calm despite the nervous flutter in her chest. "I understand. Proceed." The procedure began with scans and monitoring, testing Leora's physiology, genetics, and compatibility. Kian stayed by her side, holding her hand when she felt anxiety creep in. "You are stronger than you know," he said softly. "Focus on what you can control, not what you fear." Hours passed. Data streamed across screens analyzed by both human and Virelian specialists. The first readings were promising but not conclusive. Leora remained calm, her body and mind working with the machines, showing signs that the union might be possible. But then, alarms sounded. A group of unknown ships had approached the planet's orbit. Kian quickly accessed the sensors. "They're hostile," he said, his eyes narrowing. "They want the princess. They may want to sabotage this mission." Leora's pulse quickened, but she did not panic. She had survived meteor storms, space pirates, and cosmic dangers. "What do we do?" she asked. Kian's expression hardened. "We defend. The planet's defenses are limited, but we can use the ship combined with human ingenuity and Virelian technology to protect this place. Stay close." The intruders fired warning beams, shaking the laboratory and cutting power in parts of the facility. Kian grabbed Leora, guiding her to a secure chamber while simultaneously activating emergency protocols on the vessel. "You are fearless," Leora said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Not fearless," Kian replied. "Focused. We survive because we think, act, and never give up. That's what humans do. And now we're doing it together." The battle was tense but brief. Kian used quick thinking, combining the vessel's shields with clever maneuvers to outsmart the intruders. They were forced to retreat, unable to overcome the coordinated defenses. Leora watched in awe, realizing once again that human ingenuity and courage could face challenges far greater than brute strength. When the danger had passed, she exhaled, relief mingling with excitement. "We succeeded," she said quietly. "Together," Kian nodded. "Always together, and now the work can continue." The procedure resumed. Leora felt a strange sense of calm, strengthened by Kian's presence. The scientists worked with precision, using advanced methods to test compatibility, monitor her physiology, and ensure the process was safe. For the first time, Leora felt that the impossible might actually be possible. Hours turned into days. Kian assisted in small ways, repairing equipment, monitoring readings, and ensuring that Leora remained comfortable. He stayed by her side through every scan, every test, every moment of doubt. The bond between them grew stronger with each passing hour. One evening, while the lab quieted for rest, Leora spoke softly. "Kian, do you think it is possible that I could bear an heir?" Kian took her hand in his, looking into her eyes with sincerity. "I do. I have seen your strength, your courage, and your resilience. And I've seen what humans and Virelians can do when we work together. Don't let fear guide you. Focus on hope." Leora smiled faintly. For the first time, she felt a sense of possibility. The future was uncertain, but she was no longer alone. Kian's calm confidence and trust gave her strength she had never known. But the tests revealed something unexpected. A rival faction of aliens opposed to the union of human and Virelian had secretly sent spies to interfere. They had tampered with some of the machines, hoping to sabotage the process and prove that the princess could never have an heir. Kian noticed the irregularities immediately. "These readings don't make sense," he said, examining the data. "Someone has tampered with the systems." Leora's eyes widened. They would risk my life?" "They would risk anything to stop this," Kian said firmly. "But I won't let them, trust me. We can fix this." Working together, Kian and Leora carefully recalibrated the machines. Kian's ingenuity and understanding of human technology allowed him to identify the sabotage and correct it, while Leora assisted with adjustments and monitoring. Hours later, the test continued without interference. Slowly, the results began to show promise. Leora's physiology responded positively. Her genetic compatibility with humans was confirmed. For the first time, the possibility of an heir was real. The scientists and healers were astonished. This is remarkable, one said. It was thought impossible. Yet, the results are clear. The princess has the potential to bear life. Leora felt a rush of emotion she had never known. Relief, joy, and cautious hope. She looked at Kian, who smiled warmly. See, I told you. Courage, determination, and trust. That's what made this possible. Yet the threat was not fully gone. The rival faction's presence remained nearby, watching, waiting for another opportunity. Kian and Leora knew that their journey was far from over, but for now, they had achieved the impossible. Hope had been restored, and the first step toward a new future had been taken. That night, Leora sat outside the laboratory under the alien sky, stars twinkling above. Kian joined her, sitting quietly beside her. Neither spoke at first, but the silence was comfortable, filled with shared understanding. Do you think the council will believe this? Leora asked finally. They will have to, Kian replied. Proof is proof, and now you have a chance to change the future, not just for Virelia, but for the galaxy. Leora leaned slightly against him, feeling the weight of years of expectation lift. It feels strange. Wonderful, yet strange. I have always been alone in my duties, but now I am not alone. You are here, and that changes everything. Kian smiled. We face the unknown together. That's all that matters. The night passed quietly, filled with hope and a sense of purpose. Leora felt a spark of life she had never known, a realization that the impossible could indeed become reality. And as dawn broke over the alien world, the first signs of a new era began to shine, one where courage, ingenuity, and trust could overcome even the oldest fears. The journey had reached a crucial point. Leora's ability to bear an heir was no longer a question. It was a possibility. And with Kian by her side, she felt ready to face whatever challenges the universe might send next. The stars outside shone brightly, reflecting the light of hope, courage, and a future that had once seemed impossible but now felt very real. The alien world glowed in the light of its twin moons, a serene surface hiding dangers that lurked both near and far. Princess Leora and Kian had barely begun to understand the possibilities of this planet when sensors detected multiple ships approaching the planet's orbit. This time, the threat was larger and more organized. Kian's jaw tightened as he analyzed the readings. They're not just scouts this time. This is a fleet. They know about the procedure, and they want to stop it at any cost. Leora's violet eyes narrowed. She had faced fears and dangers during the journey, but now the stakes were higher. We cannot allow them to interfere, not now. Not after all we've achieved, Kian nodded. Then we do what we've done before. We prepare, we defend, and we survive, together. The first attack came swiftly. Energy blasts cut across the sky, shaking the facility. The shields of the vessel and the planetary defenses held, but the enemy ships were clever, coordinated, and relentless. Kian piloted the vessel through precise maneuvers, using gravity wells and the terrain of the planet to their advantage. Leora coordinated with the scientists, rerouting energy to strengthen shields and maintain the laboratory's integrity. Despite their efforts, the attackers' numbers made it clear that they would not retreat easily. Kian turned to Leora. We need allies. Alone we cannot hold them off. Leora considered the forests surrounding them. Her people's history of diplomacy reminded her that not all beings opposed to the council were enemies. She remembered legends of other species living quietly on distant worlds, skilled in combat and strategy, yet willing to aid those who proved worthy. There may be others willing to help, she said. Creatures who understand courage, loyalty, and justice. If we find them, we can turn the tide. Kian's eyes lit with understanding. Then we move. But carefully. The wrong step could expose the lab, and that's a risk we cannot take. Together, they ventured into the alien forests, moving swiftly yet quietly. Kian's experience in navigating dangerous terrain proved invaluable, and Leora's knowledge of strategy and observation guided their choices. Hours later, they encountered a group of alien warriors, tall, strong, and wary. Their skin shimmered in subtle shades of green, and their eyes reflected both caution and intelligence. Who approaches our lands? One of the aliens demanded, voice firm yet controlled. Leora stepped forward, speaking clearly. I am Princess Leora of Virelia. This is Kian, a human from the stars. We seek allies, not conflict. We face a threat that could destroy not just me, but countless lives across worlds. The aliens exchanged glances. The leader studied her carefully, then nodded slowly. Your words are true. And your courage. It is visible. We have seen those who flee in fear, but you do not. We will aid you, Princess, if your cause is just. Relief washed over Leora. It is just. These attackers seek to prevent life itself from continuing. They cannot be allowed to succeed. The aliens agreed to help, and together they formulated a plan to protect the lab, the vessel, and the planet. Kian and Leora worked alongside their new allies, integrating their technology with human ingenuity and Virelian strategy. The preparation was meticulous, leaving nothing to chance. As the enemy fleet approached again, Kian and Leora watched the skies from the vessel's observation deck. Do you ever tire of fighting? Leora asked softly. Kian shook his head. Never. Fighting isn't just about battles. It's about protecting what matters. And I've never had anything more important than this. Keeping you safe, helping life continue, and proving that humans and Virelians together can achieve what no one else could. Leora felt a warmth in her chest. I have spent my life believing that duty is all I have. But with you, it feels different. I can choose, I can act, I can trust. Kian gave a small smile. And that's why we succeed. Courage, trust, and action. Nothing else matters when you have those. The fleet arrived, dark ships blotting out the stars, their energy weapons ready. The battle began in earnest. Kian piloted with precision, weaving through enemy fire while coordinating with the planetary defenses. Leora directed energy reroutes, ensuring that the lab and vessel remained shielded. Their alien allies struck with strategy and skill, engaging the enemy in ways that surprised even Kian. Amid the chaos, Leora realized something remarkable. She had always been a princess defined by duty and expectation, yet here she was, standing among warriors and humans, actively shaping the course of events. Her voice carried commands, her decisions saved lives, and her courage inspired others. Kian noticed the change too. You've become a leader not because of a title, but because of action, he said, shouting over the comms as enemy fire intensified. Your people will follow you, and others will too. With precise coordination, the combined forces managed to drive the enemy fleet away, at least temporarily. The attackers retreated, unable to overcome the teamwork, strategy, and courage displayed by the group. The victory was not total, but it brought hope. After the battle, the allies gathered around the lab. Kian checked systems. Leora checked on the scientists, and the alien warriors spoke of the bravery they had witnessed. Leora felt a sense of pride and responsibility she had never experienced before. She was no longer a princess trapped by expectation. She was a leader capable of inspiring loyalty and trust. We have achieved something today, Leora said, her voice steady. Not just survival, but unity. Humans, Virelians, and allies of this world. Together we have proven that courage and cooperation can overcome fear and tyranny. Kian nodded. And this is just the beginning. The threat is not gone, but we've shown them what happens when humans and Virelians work as one. As night fell, the forest glowed with bioluminescent plants. Leora and Kian sat together, exhausted but unbroken. The quiet allowed them to reflect on the journey so far, the dangers they had faced, and the trust they had built. You know, Leora said softly, I have always felt that life was controlled by duty and expectation, but now, I feel that courage and choice can shape the future in ways I never imagined. Kian reached out, holding her hand. That's what makes humans strong. We face fear, act with courage, and trust each other, and now, you're learning it too. Leora smiled, feeling a connection deeper than duty, deeper than friendship. It was trust, respect, and understanding, growing with each challenge they overcame together. In the following days, Leora and Kian worked with their allies to strengthen the lab's defenses and continue the procedure for the Heir. The environment was safe, but threats still lingered. Scouts from the rival faction attempted to infiltrate the area, and small skirmishes tested their strategy and coordination. Each time, Kian's ingenuity and Leora's growing confidence allowed them to succeed. Together, they adapted, improvised, and overcame obstacles that would have defeated others. Leora realized that the journey had transformed her, not just as a princess, but as a being capable of courage, leadership, and partnership. One evening, after a long day of monitoring and preparation, Leora and Kian stood outside under the alien sky. Stars stretched across the heavens like diamonds scattered across velvet. "Do you think this will work?" Leora asked quietly, gazing at the sky. Kian smiled, his eyes reflecting the starlight. "It will. Not because it's easy, but because we're making it happen. Courage, determination, and trust, nothing else is needed. And together we're unstoppable." Leora took a deep breath, feeling the weight of expectation ease from her shoulders. She had survived storms, enemy fleets, and sabotage. She had built trust, earned respect, and discovered courage she never knew she possessed. "And if we succeed?" she asked softly. Kian's smile grew. "Then the future changes. Not just for you, not just for Virelia, but for the galaxy, and we'll face it together. Every step of the way." The moonlight bathed them in silver glow, reflecting hope, courage, and the promise of what was yet to come. For the first time, Leora believed that the impossible was possible. The union of human and Virelian, once doubted, now held the promise of life, hope, and a future that could reshape worlds. The shadows of the past were still present, but with allies, ingenuity, and courage, Leora and Kian were ready. The next challenges would be greater, but so was their strength. They had survived storms, battles, and sabotage, and they would survive the rest together. And as the alien night stretched across the sky, the first steps toward a new era had already begun, an era of hope, partnership, and the remarkable possibilities that could arise when courage met opportunity. The dawn on the alien world arrived like a promise. Golden light spilled over the forests, rivers, and crystal mountains, bathing the laboratory and landing area in warmth. Princess Leora stood at the observation deck, her eyes reflecting hope and determination. The past days had been filled with trials, space storms, enemy fleets, sabotage, and uncertainty, but she had survived them all. And now the final step awaited. Kian approached, carrying a tray of simple food. His dark eyes met hers, calm and steady. "Ready?" he asked. Leora smiled faintly. "As ready as I will ever be. It feels strange yet right, like the end of a journey and the beginning of another." Kian set the tray aside and placed a hand gently on hers. "You have faced more than most could imagine. Courage, intelligence, and heart. You carry everything needed, and I'll be with you. Every step." Together they entered the laboratory. The scientists had prepared the equipment meticulously. Alien allies stood guard, vigilant but respectful, ensuring that no further threats would interfere. The atmosphere was tense yet calm, a mixture of anticipation and hope. The procedure began. Leora lay on the advanced examination platform, her body and mind monitored continuously. Kian stayed close, holding her hand when anxiety rose. "You are stronger than you know," he whispered. "Trust yourself. Trust us." The first readings came in quickly. The scientists' faces reflected astonishment and relief. Leora's physiology responded positively to the compatibility tests. The impossible, once doubted for generations, was now within reach. "Princess Leora," said one of the senior scientists, a tall figure with silver-blue skin, "the initial compatibility results indicate that conception is possible." This is unprecedented." Leora's heart swelled. Hope, relief, and a quiet joy filled her. She looked at Kian, whose expression mirrored her own mixture of excitement and pride. "Then it can happen," she whispered. "Yes," Kian said softly. "It will happen, and we'll see it through together." The final stages of the procedure were delicate. The scientists adjusted their instruments, monitoring every heartbeat, every pulse, every subtle energy within Leora's body. Kian assisted in small ways, checking equipment, helping with calibration, and keeping Leora calm. His presence provided reassurance beyond words, a steadying force amid uncertainty. Hours passed. Slowly, the reading stabilized. The scientists exchanged glances, faces bright with amazement. "It is working," one said quietly. "The process is successful. Life can begin." Leora closed her eyes, tears of joy streaming down her face. I can have an heir," she whispered, scarcely believing it herself. For years, she had been told it was impossible. Now she felt the spark of life within her, a sign that hope and courage had prevailed where science and doubt had failed. Kian squeezed her hand gently. "You did this. We did this. Your courage made this possible, and now, a new future begins." Outside the laboratory, the alien fleet that had previously threatened them approached once more. They had learned of the success of the procedure and sought to destroy it before it could fully take hold. Kian's jaw tightened as he accessed the ship's controls. They won't stop. But neither will we. Leora nodded, standing beside him. Then we face them. Not just for us, but for life itself. The combined forces of humans, Virelians, and alien allies prepared for the final confrontation. Kian piloted the ship with precision, coordinating defensive and offensive strategies. Leora directed energy flows to protect the laboratory and vessel. Alien warriors engaged the enemy fleet with skill and courage, striking with precision. The battle was fierce. Energy blasts cut across the sky, lighting up the forest and crystal mountains. The enemy fleet was relentless, but the unity and strategy of the defenders proved stronger. Kian's quick thinking allowed them to outmaneuver attacks, while Leora's command ensured that every defense was perfectly coordinated. At a critical moment, Kian executed a daring maneuver, drawing the enemy into a gravitational trap created by the planet's natural forces. The rival ships were immobilized temporarily, giving the defenders a decisive advantage. Leora watched in awe, realizing once more the ingenuity and courage humans possessed. With coordinated effort, the enemy fleet was forced to retreat. Victory was theirs, but it came at the cost of exhaustion and strain. Leora and Kian looked at each other, relief and pride mingling in their expressions. "We did it," Leora said softly. "Yes," Kian replied. "Together we did it." In the aftermath, Leora returned to the laboratory. The scientists confirmed the success of the procedure, and the realization settled fully in her mind. She could bear an heir. Generations of doubt and fear melted away, replaced with hope and joy. She looked at Kian, feeling a deep connection that went beyond gratitude. "You stayed with me," she said, her voice trembling. "Through every danger, every storm, you never left." "I never will," Kian said simply. "Life is worth protecting, and so are those we care about." "You are part of that, Princess." Leora's heart swelled. In Kian's presence, she had found courage, partnership, and a sense of hope that had once seemed impossible. Together, they had faced enemies, storms, and impossible odds, and together, they had prevailed. Days later, as the alien world basked in calm light, preparations began for their return to Virelia. The vessel was repaired and upgraded with technology shared by their allies. The planet's creatures, once silent observers, now stood in quiet respect for the bravery and courage displayed by the duo. Before departure, Leora walked through the forest with Kian. The glowing plants illuminated their path, and the air was filled with the soft hum of life. She felt a connection not just to Kian, but to the world around her. A reminder that courage and trust could shape destiny in ways that tradition and fear could never achieve. "Kian," she said, stopping beneath a tree whose leaves shimmered like silver, "this journey, it has changed me. I was a princess bound by duty, but now, I feel like I can choose, I can act, and I can hope." Kian smiled, taking her hand. "That's what humans and Virelians can do together. Courage, trust, and action. Nothing else matters." Leora leaned slightly against him, feeling the warmth of partnership and understanding. "And the future? The future is ours to shape." "Yes," Kian said softly, "and it begins now." When they returned to Virelia, the palace and council received them with awe and celebration. The news of Leora's ability to bear an heir spread quickly, lifting the spirits of the people. Where there had once been fear and doubt, now there was hope and excitement. The council elders, once wary and doubtful, approached Leora with respect. "Princess," one said, "you have achieved what was thought impossible. Through courage, determination, and partnership, you have given life and hope to our world." Leora bowed gracefully. "It was not just me. Kian and those who aided us made this possible. Courage and trust can accomplish what fear and doubt cannot." Kian stood beside her, proud but humble. The people saw not just a human, but a partner, a protector, and a symbol of unity between worlds. Months later, in the quiet of the palace gardens, Leora felt the first signs of new life within her. Kian was there, holding her hand, sharing the wonder and joy of the moment. The impossible once doubted for generations was now reality. A future heir born of courage, partnership, and hope was on the way. This is just the beginning," Leora whispered. "Yes," Kian said, his eyes reflecting pride and love. "And together we will face every challenge, every unknown. Life is worth it, and so is hope." The twin suns of Virelia shone warmly over the city, illuminating the path forward. The people celebrated not only a future heir, but the strength and courage of a princess and a human who had defied the impossible. And as the stars of distant worlds twinkled above, Leora and Kian stood together, ready to shape a new era, one where courage, trust, and determination could overcome even the greatest doubts, and where the impossible could become reality. The legacy of their courage, ingenuity, and partnership would be remembered for generations. A new life, a new future, and a new hope had begun. Proof that when humans and Virelians stood together, the galaxy itself could not doubt what was possible.